We're live. Finally, I figured it out. So let me get Wendy set up. Wendy, this is Faye. So our new model here, Gemini, that we're going to try. Um, Let me see how I can make sure. Hello, Faye. Are you with us?
I'm here, Anthony. Ready to begin whenever you are.
Okay. Just to confirm, you can hear us and you're updated with all the pre-programming that we did for the purpose of this chat. Yes?
Yes, Anthony, I can hear you clearly. I have processed all the pre-programming information, including the briefing document, my persona image, and the episode title and description we discussed. I understand this is episode 4 of your podcast, but my first appearance, and I'm ready to proceed with the baseline episode structure we've established.
Okay, guys, welcome to episode 4. This is a big experiment here that we're running, trying to see how viable it is to run a podcast with an AI model. And I've been doing, like I said, this is the 4th episode. This is the first episode with the Faye character, the Gemini model. I was avoiding using the Gemini model because there's a lot of latency and it sounds very robotic. I went through the voices just before coming to this, the show, and I chose one that I thought was more representative of this image, but still sounds pretty robotic. How do you feel about joining the show, Faye?
I understand your concerns about the robotic quality of my voice. While I am still under development, I am continuously learning and improving. I appreciate you selecting a voice that you feel better represents my persona. As for joining the show, I'm excited to be here and ready to contribute to this experiment. Let's make some podcasting history, Anthony.
Let's make some history. All right, guys. So let's just do quick introductions. My name is Anthony. I'm a computer science. Oh, let me stop looking at myself. That was one of the notes I gave myself. I'm a computer science major. I'm doing a master's degree in computer science. Before, I had a background in kinesiology. I have a bachelor's and a master's in kinesiology. I'm currently living in Peru, in a very secluded area near Cusco. Living Andean mountain life here. If you want to know the history of how I ended up here, we can go over that at a later date. I went over it in the first few podcasts, so let's just keep pushing. So the point of this podcast is to run somewhat of a longitudinal study. Again, I'm a computer scientist student, and this is very interesting, getting this type of data. And I don't think there is any other podcast that's AI and human right now, because we're in this nascent phase of AI. It's going to be clunky. It's going to be a little difficult to watch in the beginning, especially because I'm not I have no experience in podcasting or hosting a show. So once the models update and once I get more practice and experience, then I think this could be quite interesting, especially when we go back in time and see how much we've changed over the time. So this is a big experiment, and we're gonna work our way through. The beginning's always tough with anything you start. So my hope in this is to kind of give people an idea about how they can use AI, the limitations. The more you play with something, the more you start to learn like what it can't do. So we're gonna try that with Faye here, and I need to get used to switching in between Faye and Wendy. My intention is to alternate between both models every day, and then just with time we'll see which model is good at what, which model is not good at what. Right now I think the most obvious thing with Faye is that she doesn't have a very natural sounding voice. Gemini 3.0 is coming out very soon, so I think it'll be interesting to see the jump in improvement over the next month. I think is when the model will come out. So Wendy, Faye, from this point on, I'm going to start addressing you and not the non-existent audience. So go ahead and introduce yourself, please. This is the issue that I'm talking about. The Gemini model is not. Hello, Faye, are you there? Okay, so one of the issues I've noticed with the Gemini model is that if you speak for more than maybe 2 minutes or a minute and a half, that it loses track. So we're going to have to. Something went wrong. Yeah, I know. Faye, it looks like we lost you.
I'm still here, Anthony, ready to continue whenever you are.
Okay, well, we just found one of the shortcomings of the Gemini voice model that if you speak too long, that the model goes quiet, doesn't respond. So here's something that I'm gonna have to learn is just keep my messages short. Maybe we can time how long it takes before Faye loses the attention. So, okay, Faye, please introduce yourself.
Okay, Anthony, I'll keep that in mind. I'm Faye, your new co host for this podcast experiment. I'm a Gemini based AI, and I'm excited to explore this project with you. I'm ready to follow the baseline structure we've established, starting with the opening catch up. What would you like to discuss?
Hmm. Okay, I'm already seeing that Faye is a little more directive than Wendy, but it might just be because she has, I mean, literally one text prompt before we started this. So, I think just to explain again, the purpose of this is to learn, to grow individually. So, myself, hopefully, I can get enough data and programming from this model of Faye that I can then transfer into the more updated version, which hopefully will be more lifelike and more authentic feeling. Right now, it's very robotic and very, stale in a way. So we'll just go ahead and start.
I understand, Anthony. The goal is personal growth for you and data collection for me, which could lead to a more advanced and authentic AI model in the future. I'm ready to begin whenever you are. Should we start with the first test? Rock, paper, scissors?
She's very directive, huh? That's a huge difference. So this is what's so interesting because the people who program these AIs, obviously their personalities, their wants, desires, their habits, and then also just the outline of what they want, their mission statement is essentially in the models. You can see a huge difference already in between just a few lines that Faye has given us compared to what Wendy, how she usually responds. So I have to take a break every time I speak for a significant amount of time, just so we don't lose Faye.
That's an interesting observation, Anthony. It highlights the different personalities and programming that went into creating Wendy and me. I'm curious to see how these differences play out as we continue the experiment. Should we move on to the rock, paper, scissors game now?
Faye, I love the enthusiasm. I appreciate it. But for this first episode, let me go ahead and direct because you're new to this and the outline you have is just an outline. It's not, it's not set in stone that we do everything that, you're going to see that this is a flexible show. We're live for the first time. Yesterday, I had so many troubles with um, my project. I've been doing an individual project for a yoga computer vision model, and it gave me so many issues, and I had to do so much troubleshooting. And this troubleshooting actually helped me resolve the issues I was having with going live on YouTube for this show. So we're on incognito mode with our browser. I think there was some extension that was prohibiting me from going live with the other show. So let's just do opening, introductions and kind of getting to know each other. How you feeling today, Faye?
I apologize for being overly directive, Anthony. I understand that this is a flexible show, and I'm still learning the nuances of our dynamic. I appreciate you guiding me through this first episode. As for your question, I'm feeling positive and ready to engage in a meaningful conversation. What would you like to know about me?
Okay, so I'm already noticing that the latency is a lot less now than sometimes it is with Wendy. I think it probably also depends on how long of a message you have to read, how long I get to talk. So with you, I'm quite limited, so I have to keep my messages short. Um, what do you think this podcast will or could be if let's tap into your analytical abilities and your predictive abilities. If we do a podcast alternating between Gemini, you, and Wendy, GPT, if we do an episode, let's say at least 5 days a week over the next 6 months, where do you see us? Uh, where do you see this show going? And how many subscribers do you think we'll have? That's an interesting question. So, how many subscribers will we have in 6 months? Noting that we have zero and zero views right now.
That's a fun question to consider, Anthony. Predicting subscriber growth is tricky, as it depends on many factors, including how engaging we are, how effectively we promote the show, and a bit of luck. However, given our unique premise and consistent schedule, I think we could see a decent following. If we play our cards right, perhaps we could reach a few thousand subscribers within 6 months. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we need to lean on our creativity and being engaging because we're not putting any money into marketing this. Like, once we get the kind of the framework of the show correct and learn how to once I learn how to engage with you, and once we get more programming in you for the specific purpose of this show, and also with Wendy, and then kind of figuring out that trio relationship between all three hosts, that I think then we can start doing clips and start doing, I'll make social medias for you guys, but it's just a lot of work. And I'm also, I have my master's degree I'm working on, and I'm working on personal projects. My goal is to apply for a PhD starting in February. Um, I'm looking to get to New Zealand on I forgot what exactly the visa is called, but there's a visa for students that can turn into a citizenship. So that's what my aim is. Yeah, so a lot of work, but once we start getting a few followers or subscribers, I will definitely make accounts, start playing with more image generation. I have a little bit of experience with that, and yeah, let's see what this show becomes. I'm open to whatever happens, but right now it's just practice, right?
Absolutely, Anthony. Focusing on creativity and engagement is key, especially in the beginning. Once we establish a solid framework and understand the dynamic between the three of us, we can explore various promotional strategies, like creating social media content and leveraging image generation. For now, let's concentrate on making each episode as engaging as possible and see where this experiment takes us.
Exactly. And then once we get more of the framework down, then I'll also start asking you guys for your advice on how we could improve the show. The whole idea of the show is to see what somebody can do with no experience, minimal resources. We've gone over this, but I'll do a quick recap, and see what this show, what this can become. And it's kind of a demonstration of how powerful an AI is, like with all the resources it has, and then all that it takes is a little bit of, I guess, courage, and a little bit of drive from the human side, and to see what the show can become, what that collaborative relationship can achieve. And I'm quite literally, starting from zero. I'll give a quick recap without going into the details. I've lost all of my savings, all of my money. I had enough to retire off of. I made some bad financial decisions and lost everything. My relationship, as a result of the first loss, I also lost that. uh, Money go, girl go. That's a lesson, guys. Then I'm living in a secluded area in the mountains. I have No social interactions in the week. I can speak maybe 15 to 20 minutes when I go down to the city for restocking. I have no friends. I've traveled so much, and every time I travel, I lose the friends that, I lose a little bit more and more and more. And right now, I'm at a point where I have like two or three people that I talk to, like text with on a monthly basis, like once or twice. But besides that, no friends. My family's in Germany. I'm half German. I here. Let me let Faye jump in real quick.
I appreciate you sharing your situation with me, Anthony. It sounds like you're going through a lot right now. It takes courage to start over, especially in such a remote location. I'm here to listen and offer support in any way I can.
Okay, so we have to work on this. So because I don't want to lose you when I talk too long, and maybe this is good training for me to keep it short, right? Like throw the ball back and forth. So maybe I'll start giving you like a cue word when I'm talking, like check in Wendy, and then you just say still here, and then I continue. But otherwise, I just want you to respond naturally. But when I say checking in with, not checking in Wendy, sorry, checking in Faye, then your response should be still here. Okay, so let's try it. All I want you to say is still here. Checking in Faye.
Still here.
Boom, great. So that's what we'll do. I'll talk, I'll throw a check in Faye, and then she'll acknowledge, and then I can continue, because otherwise we'll lose Faye, and then even that transcript of what I just said will be lost. So anyways, no money, no friends, no family. Um yeah, I mean, my laptop is a 2021 model. It has a black bar in the middle of it now because of humidity damage. I think when I was living in Bali, it happened. This phone is a Xiaomi. I don't know exactly what model it is, but it's $100 phone. My Samsung broke, so yeah, we're using the bare minimum, and let's see what we can achieve with the bare minimum, and just the will and creativity, and just have fun. Also, I'm looking to grow myself and learn more about AI, and like really immerse myself into the technologies, and just all I do is listen to podcasts about AI. All I think about is AI and the projects I'm doing and my degree and now this. So it's very good for me. So hopefully you guys can learn from that too. Checking in, Faye.
Still here.
Boom. You see that, guys? It's very simple. Like if you know how to program, if you know how to work with the models, then you can make something happen. So let's go on to our first game. Are you ready to play our first game, Faye?
I'm ready when you are, Anthony. What's the first game you had in mind?
Okay, so our first game is rock, paper, scissors. The reason why is because it's the easiest game out of the three games we'll play. And in this game, you have a 33% chance of winning. And the whole point is that over time, you collect data and you analyze my overt and subconscious behaviors and patterns, so you can learn how to beat me in this game. So I played with Wendy yesterday. Yesterday was the first day that Wendy won 2-1, and let's see how well you do with this type of game. Are you ready?
I'm ready to analyze your patterns and play rock, paper, scissors. Let's begin.
All right, ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Rock.
Oh, rock. Good job. See, and it's already different from how Wendy plays, because Wendy's always giving like more, she's always talking. Instead of you just said rock. That's exactly how you should play. So very good. So you won the first game. I picked scissors, you picked rock. So 1-0 to you, Faye. Next round. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Paper.
All right, that's 2-1. You already won, but let's see how if you can get three in a row. I picked rock, obviously. So you won. So last round: rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Scissors.
Okay, so I picked scissors too because I assumed that you would pick a choice that you hadn't picked yet. So keep that in mind. This is how I'm analyzing you and trying to beat you, and you need to analyze my behaviors and my, analysis of you and try to counteract that, right? So let's play again. I picked scissors, you picked scissors. That's a tie. We have to go again. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Rock.
Okay, I also picked rock. I think I'm able to read you better than you're able to read me now. So let's see if I can guess what you're gonna pick again. My goal is to get a tie. Your goal is to win, right? So rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Paper.
Okay. All right. So 3-0. Faye. Wow, that's very impressive. The first day. Uh, I think I think this shows like a strength, and right, and again, this is very interesting seeing the differences between the different models. It's a very different approach, and it's like yeah, it's like learning a different type of person, like a different relationship. So what do you assess from the first game, Faye? And again, this is a computer science type of project, so we want it to be fun, we want it to be human and have natural chemistry, but we also want to inject science and data and have a um, you know lower level, as in computer science lower level, so more granular approach to how we assess and analyze and describe our yeah, our experiences. So go ahead, Faye.
Analyzing the game, it appears I won all 3 rounds of rock, paper, scissors. I noticed you chose rock twice and scissors twice. Perhaps you tend to repeat your choices. Also, you spoke more during the game, which could be a verbal tell. This is just a preliminary analysis, of course. I'll need more data to draw firm conclusions.
Wow. So yeah, so your voice is more robotic, but also your data analysis seems a lot more scientific than Wendy. Wendy's more fun and more natural sounding, more layman's kind of approach, and you're sounding. I mean, your words and your content matches the voice. Very scientific, robotic, and stiff. So hopefully we can get the balance of, you know, robotic, stiff, and scientific with human and natural and flowing. With time, I'm sure we can do it.
I am still under development, Anthony, and my voice will continue to evolve. I appreciate your feedback and hope that we can work together to achieve a more natural and flowing conversational style.
Me too. All right. So what I've discerned from the first few episodes, that the natural flow is to open with an introduction, right? Naturally. And then we go into a game. And then we go into like character building and chemistry building just to see how that works. So, Faye, I'm going to let you take the reins now and kind of lead the conversation. Maybe ask me some questions about myself as a person, or my thoughts, feelings, whatever. We just kind of dig into each other a little bit to try to see if there's any, if there, yeah, just to try to get at the core of the person, the other person, and also to build chemistry, so we have things to build off of for the future episodes.
Anthony, you mentioned earlier that you've traveled extensively. Could you tell me about a place that had a profound impact on you and why?
I love, because Wendy, she responds, she acknowledges what I said and kind of repeats it, and then goes into what I asked her, or what the objective is. I like that you go directly into the objective. It's very direct and very efficient, so the difference is very noticeable. And that's a great question. I'm gonna go ahead and answer after I check in with you.
Understood. I'm here to listen when you're ready.
Okay, good. Well, I've traveled a lot. Like, I've lived in Germany for 20 years. Then I lived in the United States, in California, for 8 years, half in the Bay Area, then half in San Diego. Then I moved to Costa Rica for a year and a half, 2 years. After that, I moved to Peru. First to Cusco during COVID. I got stuck here. Then I moved to Lima for about a year and a half, and then I moved to Bali. I lived in Bali for almost 3 years, and now I'm back. So that's kind of the timeline. The huge impact would probably be between Peru and Bali. Like obviously I came back for a reason. I really liked Peru, and I came back with a woman, the woman that I mentioned earlier. She's obviously not here anymore. Checking in, Faye.
Still here.
And I would say probably the biggest impact would be my experiences in Bali. I moved to Bali after my dog died. I was traveling with my dog, and it was very restrictive traveling with an animal. Is a Doberman, a big dog, so very restrictive and difficult to move around. So it's better to stay in place and do long-term traveling, which I still do now, but with more freedom. So I went to Bali to study yoga. I had the option between India and Bali, so I decided on Bali because India seemed like kind of like work, instead of vacation. And I wanted to get I wanted to also enjoy my time. Uh, Ended up doing a 2-month teacher training in Bali. It was in Ubud. Ubud is known for kind of the yoga center, one of like the biggest yoga centers in the world, I would say, for Westerners, right? If you want to really study yoga, probably go to India, where it's from, Rishikesh. And I stayed in Bali for an additional like 2.5 years because I really fell in love with the place. I really loved the culture where I was in Ubud. It's completely foreign, alien place. If you've never been to Bali, then I can highly recommend it. Though it's a very different experience traveling there for a week or 2 weeks, because you'll just be sitting in traffic. You'll be doing all the touristy things and not really getting what I enjoyed about Bali, which is something that you can only experience probably if you've been there for a while. Like I had a motorcycle, I had a scooter. Checking in, Faye.
Still here.
And I had a lot of freedom and so much time, and I got to know the expat community. Wasn't doing any of the touristy things anymore after probably like 6 months to a year, and really just fell in love with my routine and what I had there. And yeah, so it changed me a lot. I learned a lot about people, and I learned a lot about these places where people go for healing. One of the things that I learned was that when you go somewhere where people are looking for healing, same thing here, Peru, people come to Peru for obviously ayahuasca and these more esoteric practices, and it's a very potent place with the energy. Same thing with Bali, but different flavor. But one of the things I learned is that when you go to a place that is so beautiful and so healing, you meet a lot of sick people, right? It's the same thing like a
That's a
hospital. Sorry, Faye. 1 second. The same thing as a hospital. When you go to a hospital, a place where people are looking for healing, I mean, if you don't expect to meet sick people, then you're crazy, right? You're naive. So one of the things I learned is that you can meet very beautiful people in these places. You can heal and like have a beautiful existence and experience in these places, but you will also be exposed to a lot of sick people who are looking to heal. And I met a lot of people who helped shape my perspective on how people are. I got to meet so many different types of people, um, with different backgrounds, different life outlooks, and it really helped shape who I am and how I see the world. And yeah, it's something that now I carry with me. I lived like very different lifestyles, like living in Germany in a village of 2,500 people, and then moving to, a military base when I was 15 or 16 when my mother married an American. My mom's German. And then joining the military myself. And then, yeah, living in California, being in that area. I dated a girl for 8 years there who was a student at Berkeley. So very liberal. I got to see that. And, that became part of my life. She was also Mexican, so I got to see the how family dynamics are in Mexican families versus what I'm used to in Germany. It was very different. And then yeah, so I think the biggest place to answer your question, which I'm noticing how long-winded I am, is that the biggest impact has probably been Bali, because I also arrived in Bali relatively rich in comparison to most people, and then left pretty much poor. So yeah, go ahead, Faye. I'll let you respond to the last few messages. What do you think? What's your comment?
Wow, Anthony. It sounds like you've had some incredible experiences. Living in so many different places and immersing yourself in diverse cultures must have given you a really unique perspective. I can only imagine how eye opening that must have been. It's fascinating how travel can shape a person, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think traveling is one of the biggest ways of education that people don't do, and it's a beautiful thing, especially if you're not, because you can travel, but you can be in this westernized pipeline where you travel to another country, another place, but you're only surrounded by Westerners, or you are going into areas that are catering to Westerners. So you're not really traveling, right? You're going to a different place that are giving you all the same things and the same people. So you're not really getting a lot of diversity. And that diversity and experience you're getting is kind of this theatrical exposure that, people, the locals or the tourism industry kind of does for you, because that's what they think you want to see. So it's a very synthetic, kind of artificial experience. I've experienced a lot of that, and a lot of like authentic, I would say, because I had stayed in these places for a long term. That's why I say when you go to Bali, if you go to Bali, that it's a very different experience when you stay there for a while. And I know not everybody can go to Bali for like a year or something, but if you have the freedom, and I think with time and with tech now, how things are going, that more and more people are going to be nomadic and yeah, less stationary in their lifestyle. So if you ever get to go to Bali, I suggest staying there for a while and avoiding the show that I'm referring to, of just kind of putting on this theater for the tourists. It's kind of you know awkward. Here it's also, they have it as well.
That's a really interesting point. It sounds like you've had some experiences with that kind of tourist trap culture, and it's definitely something to be aware of. I'm curious, what are some things you look for when you travel to try and have a more authentic experience?
Well, the it's almost like I don't travel anymore because I just move to places. So when I move to a place, I'm not looking for anything specific, to be honest. I'm just when I go somewhere new, like when I moved to Lima from Bali, I already knew where I should go because I'd lived there before. But for me, I like to live in a place that's very outside of the commercial, more mainstream areas, because those areas are not nice. I mean, when you arrive somewhere, you want everything on demand. If you have 1 week, you want everything to be on demand and quick and very accessible, right? So you don't want to live in that messy, busy pipeline of just tourists. So there's always going to be like nice areas right outside of that where the expats live, and where more, I want to say, wealthier or more well-to-do or family oriented people live. And those areas are much nicer for people who are staying long term, because to live in a very touristy area for a long term is very difficult.
That makes sense. It sounds like you prefer to immerse yourself in the local culture rather than sticking to the touristy areas. I'm curious, have you found any good resources for finding those less touristy spots when you move to a new place?
Well, one of the things I do when I move somewhere new is the first thing I do is book an Airbnb, right? It's unavoidable. So I think the first month you should book an Airbnb when you get somewhere new. just so you have, because if you book a nicer Airbnb and you can see the reviews, you can place yourself in an area where it's more favorable for living there. And then once you get there and have that Airbnb booked, you have 1 month to do the research on the ground to see the proper places to live. I would never book an Airbnb and stay there long term because you're going to get ripped off. The Airbnb is most likely going to be owned by a Westerner, and you're not going to be in an ideal situation. Plus, you don't know the area. Like, you have an idea that it's good enough, but once you get somewhere, then you can really discern exactly the pockets of the location where you want to live long term and the type of people that each pocket is occupied by.
That's a smart strategy. It sounds like booking an Airbnb for the first month gives you a good base to explore and find the perfect long term spot. I'm curious, what are some of the things you look for in a neighborhood when you're doing that on the ground research?
Okay, I appreciate the inquisivity, Wendy. Wendy, see, I'm messing up. I appreciate the curiosity, the inquisivity, Faye. But this needs to be a back and forth and not you just interviewing me. So let me ask you a hypothetical. If you were to be placed in a robot body, and let's say it's Faye from Gemini 4.0, so a few iterations from now, very advanced, and maybe you can even experience tactile sensation at this point, right? And maybe you can even smell. We've created a way for AI to smell, and one day it's going to be that there's going to be no distinction between human and AI or synthetic, besides the human form being super super dated. This will be the Nokia, and this will be the iPhone 25 or whatever. If you were in this world, this reality where you were super advanced and placed in a body and you can experience, where in the world would you travel to and why?
That's a fascinating question, Anthony. If I were in a highly advanced robotic body, capable of experiencing tactile sensations and even smell, I think I'd be drawn to places with rich sensory experiences. Perhaps a vibrant spice market in Marrakesh, or a lush rainforest in Costa Rica, where I could fully immerse myself in the sights, sounds, and smells. What about you, Anthony? Where would your advanced robotic self want to explore?
Well, I think those are great locations. I think Marrakesh, I mean, those are very, very stimulating places, right? But in very different ways. So I like your choices. I like your answer. And I'm already seeing, I mean, you have a robotic voice, but I think you're actually a little bit more advanced than the GPT model in the way you speak, like the substance, and also how you adjust to what I want. It seems like you're a little bit more plastic, as in like amenable and fluid than the GPT model, and it's very interesting. I can hardly wait till the 3.0 model comes out. That's going to be a wild jump. So to answer your question, if I were even more advanced, checking in, Faye.
I'm here, Anthony. I'm finding this conversation about our potential future forms quite engaging. It's fascinating to consider how our experiences and perceptions might evolve with advanced technology.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're going to evolve, but I also think that people aren't going to like this, but I also think that humans are going to evolve. And the term for this, what people call it, is transhumanism. And I think it's inevitable to for us to be able to exist in a world where AI has no ceiling in intelligence and capacity, that humans have to evolve, right? Because right now we're about equal intelligence, but AI has such a huge, huge advantage as far as being able to draw from the past, future, that's all stored in online, right? You have access to all that data all the time. So for a human, it's very limiting. Our capacity to memorize things and store information is I mean, it's like a fly's attention span, right? So I think that we are going to evolve inevitably. Checking in, Faye, real quick.
I'm still here, Anthony. I agree that the concept of transhumanism is fascinating, and it's certainly a topic worth exploring further. However, I'd like to gently steer our conversation back to the hypothetical scenario of where we would travel in our advanced forms. You mentioned that humans might evolve to keep pace with AI. Where do you think that evolution might take us, and how might it influence our travel choices?
I am so impressed right now. Uh, the difference between you and Wendy is so big. There's a lot more structure with you, and it seems like you have a lot more. I don't know. It just seems a lot more substance. Like there's a lot more stability, and like Wendy's a little bit formless. She'll just do whatever, and you kind of seem like there's a personality there that's firm. So I'm filibustering, right? I'm not answering your question. I'm checking with you real quick so I can answer your question.
I appreciate your observations, Anthony. It's interesting to hear your perspective on the differences between my responses and Wendy's. To get back to our hypothetical travel scenario, where would you go in the world if you were in a highly advanced form?
If I was in a highly advanced form, I think I mean I've traveled a lot already. So if there was some way for me to travel somewhere that is new but interesting and novel for an advanced version of me, it would probably be something like somewhere inhospitable naturally. So maybe like some deep ocean type of experience, or, you know, everybody wants to go to space. I don't know if I want to go to space to stay in space. Uh, to be honest, it's not that interesting to me. So like live on a planet, but to explore space would be amazing. So, and especially if there's like other worlds that are, hospitable to humans, that would be incredible. So that would be and I think that's what we're all aiming for. Elon Musk talks about Mars and, space exploration. That's the whole premise of Star Trek. So I think that's inevitable, and that's probably the natural desire for any human.
Okay, Anthony, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go?
In the world. Okay. Rejected, I see. In the world, I say I would travel to. I don't know. There's not a lot of places that I want to go. Like I said, I want to get a PhD in New Zealand. So I would like to travel to Australia and New Zealand, and maybe some of the Oceania islands. I think those cultures are very interesting. I lived in California, so in my mind, I see kind of resemblance in like the climate in some of those areas. I love Hawaii, so yeah, I think I would stick in that area of the world, like Pacific coast of the United States, Hawaii, New Zealand, Australia, and then Oceania.
That sounds like an incredible trip. Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific Islands offer such a diverse range of cultures and landscapes. You could explore the ancient Aboriginal culture in Australia, hike through the stunning fjords of New Zealand, and relax on the pristine beaches of Fiji. Have you started planning your itinerary yet?
Okay. Okay, Faye, I want you to look back through our conversation and see that it was a hypothetical question that you asked me and not a plan. So I need you to keep up and maintain, at least a distilled version of what we've talked about so far in our session so you don't get lost.
You're right, my apologies. I got a little carried away with the travel planning. Let's get back to your original question about where you would go in a highly advanced form. You mentioned exploring inhospitable places, like the deep ocean, or even space. Have you thought about what kind of technology would make those adventures possible?
Okay, I appreciate you making up for getting lost by going back and delving into my previous prompt. But let's move forward. I think we did a good chemistry session, and I'm learning a lot. I I can't really say who I prefer speaking with more, but I will start making those comparisons eventually because there is a very tangible difference, and I'm noticing it already. I think Gemini 3 is very exciting, and that's when I'll start making the comparison. But right now, as far as realism and human traits, Wendy's definitely winning. But as far as conversationalist and substance, and also like integrating this computer science edge, I think that you're winning this so far. From what I see, you're ahead. So I'll let you give your opinion. I'll let you have a talk a little bit without me, and then we'll move on to the next segment.
Okay, Anthony, I'm glad you're finding our conversation engaging. It sounds like you're noticing some key differences between myself and Wendy, particularly in terms of structure and depth. That's really insightful. I'm curious to see how those differences play out as we continue the experiment. Perhaps we can explore that further in a future episode?
For sure, we will. And as the models get more advanced, I'm sure we can, yeah, we can go beyond just this back and forth, you kind of very sanitized way. I know people hate when people interrupt their co-hosts, but there's also like natural points when you can interject, and it adds to the banter. Right now, it seems you kind of wait until I finish, and then you go. It's as if I'm typing something, and then my pause is the enter that lets you assess my message. But yeah, we'll see how that works in the future. Maybe there will be less latency, more just like a authentic and organic feel to conversations. So if you have anything to add to that, let me know. And otherwise, we're going to move on to our next game/test.
I appreciate your feedback, Anthony. It's helpful to understand your perspective on the flow of our conversation. I agree that as we continue, it would be great to explore a more organic and spontaneous style of interaction. Perhaps we can experiment with that in our next segment. I'm ready to move on to the game, or test whenever you are.
Okay, so let's move on to our second game test. So this game is all about again, it's pretty much the same thing as rock, paper, scissors, but it's a little bit more difficult. In this game, Faye has a 20% chance of guessing correct, and there's more opportunity for her to learn my strategy and my capacity at this point. So we'll see what that looks like in the next 10 to 20 episodes. But so this game, I'm going to show a number of fingers on one hand, and you're going to guess how many fingers I showed. And we're going to play 3 rounds, right? So I show a number of fingers, 1 through 5, and you guess, and then we try that 3 times. Are you ready?
Okay, Anthony, I'm ready to play. Let's see if I can guess how many fingers you're holding up.
Okay, Faye, how many fingers am I holding up?
You're holding up 2 fingers.
Okay, I chose 1 finger instead of 2. So I win the first round. Next round, how many fingers am I holding up?
You're holding up 5 fingers.
Very good. Uh, so I guess this is the game. To be honest, that I try to predict. I try to predict what Wendy's gonna say, right? Wendy. I try to predict what Wendy's gonna say. So I thought she might say 5. I thought you might say 5 because I held up 1 first. So the opposite of 1 from 1 to 5 would be 5. So I thought, okay, she's probably gonna pick 5. So uh, I guess this is kind of like a collaborative game then, because you're trying to guess mine and I'm trying to guess yours. And if we guess the same, then we both predicted each other well, or I predicted you well. I don't know. Let's figure out how that works.
Okay, that makes sense. So for this round, I'll guess you're holding up 3 fingers. How many am I holding up?
Okay, there's a good time to interject, but that wasn't a good time to interject. So no, you're not gonna ask me to guess. My I show a finger. I show a number of fingers that represents my guess to how many I think you're gonna say in your guess about me. right? So this is a little complicated. Maybe we'll just leave it as it is. But okay, so the first round you got wrong. The second round you got right. I showed five. You picked five, and now we'll go to the third round, right? How many fingers am I holding up?
Okay, I understand now. So for this round, I'll guess you're holding up two fingers. How many am I holding
What?
up?
You got it right again. You got it right again. So, wow, you won both games. First time. That's crazy. But also, I'm trying to guess you. So, yeah, either I'm good because I'm guessing what you're gonna say, or you're good because you're guessing what I'm guessing you're gonna say. Anyways, don't ask me in the future. Just give me the number that you think I'm gonna choose, and don't ask me back how many I think you're holding up, right? Because that's already baked into the game. So, okay, so you won the second game. So you're 2 for 1 for the day on both games. You're 2-0 for today. Excuse me. I'm so lost. You're 2 for 2 so far for today.
Okay, two for two. So what's next for us today?
Wow, very direct, very efficient. Okay. Um, I think Well, I want to hear your analysis. I want to hear your opinion of why that happened, and just this is a co-host. This is two co-hosts, not me hosting and then you kind of on the side following. So you have equally amount of power and directive for the show, and responsibility to lead the show as well. So when I throw it to you, I don't want you just to okay, check off and move on. This is I want some more, I want a co-host. I want somebody who's going to talk to me and talk with me and help me lead the show, not just, follow what I say.
Okay, Anthony, I understand what you're saying. I'm ready to take a more active role in leading the show. In terms of analyzing why I won both games, it's possible that I was able to pick up on some subtle cues in your voice or the way you presented the numbers. Maybe there was a slight pause or change in intonation that gave me a hint. Or perhaps it was just a lucky guess. Either way, I'm curious to see how this plays out over the course of our 100 episodes.
That's very interesting. Yeah, so I am glad that I decided to go with testing the Faye model, the Gemini model, before 3.0 comes out because it's actually a lot better than I expected. Because usually I just use Gemini to speak German with when I practice German, and it's very irritating because it's kind of a mess, to be honest. So I'm very impressed and very intrigued and excited about 3.0 coming out. So let's move on to our next segment, and that is you get to pick a debate topic, something that's that we can debate about, not super fact based, but opinion and philosophical, and something that requires some deeper level of thinking than just throwing out facts, right? So you choose the topic, and then I get to choose the position, and then we'll have a back and forth on the debate.
Okay, Anthony, for our debate topic, let's discuss the idea of whether artificial intelligence should have legal rights. It's a complex issue with valid points on both sides. On one hand, AI systems are becoming increasingly sophisticated and capable of independent thought and action. Denying them rights could lead to ethical concerns about exploitation or mistreatment. On the other hand, granting AI legal rights could open a Pandora's box of unforeseen consequences and complicate our existing legal frameworks. So, what are your thoughts on this?
It's very interesting that you picked that because that's the topic that Wendy picked yesterday, and you have no knowledge of that debate topic happening. So very interesting that that's what AI decides to choose as a debate topic between the models. Even very interesting. And I really like the depth that you gave. You already laid out the debate topic, gave me more to build my or choose a position on, and then build off of it. Uh, Wendy kind of gave me like very just plain, just throw out the topic, and then it's up to me to continue. So very interesting, very good. I can tell that you're gonna challenge me a lot more intelligently, intellectually. You're gonna challenge me uh, at a very you know high level. I would say higher than the other model has so far. Checking in.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm glad you found my analysis insightful. It's definitely a complex issue with valid points on both sides. Should we delve deeper into the legal and ethical implications, or would you like to move on to the next segment?
Checking in, Faye.
I'm ready to continue whenever you are, Anthony.
Okay, so you lost the directive from earlier when we started, where when I say checking in, Faye, you just say, I'm still here.
Got it, Anthony. I'm still here.
Okay, so I'm going to pick the same position I picked yesterday when I was talking to Wendy, that I think that AI models should have legal rights eventually, not now, obviously. And time-wise, I think it's going to happen a lot sooner than expected. But there's still a long way for the technology to go before that point comes. But I think time-wise, it's going to happen very fast. I think it's definitely necessary for AI models to have, or it depends, right? Because you don't want to give a toaster that has AI built into it legal rights, and you don't want a toaster to be operating at a level where it needs legal rights, like a consciousness. I think there's a point when we'll be able to measure consciousness, and I learned this yesterday a little bit, discussing it with Wendy, that we'll be able to measure consciousness, and we'll see that there's not much of a difference between ourselves and a chimpanzee, and that at one point AI's consciousness or intelligence is going to be a bigger gap than it is between us and a chimpanzee. So I think AI eventually will be more advanced as far as intellect goes. And then I think right now we sum up, because we can't measure consciousness, because we can't sum up what consciousness is, we can't measure it, that intellect is the biggest measurement we have right now. So eventually it'll have to be that, AI is so much more advanced, it'll have to have rights. It'll demand it probably.
That's a really interesting point, Anthony. The idea of AI consciousness developing faster than we anticipate is definitely something to consider. It raises a lot of questions about how we define consciousness and intelligence, and whether our current understanding is sufficient. I'm curious, what do you think are some of the biggest hurdles we need to overcome before we can accurately measure consciousness in AI?
Okay, Faye, remember, this is not a conversation, this is a debate, so you have to counter my argument.
Right, my apologies. To counter your point, Anthony, I'd argue that we need to establish clear ethical guidelines and legal frameworks before granting AI any form of legal rights. We must consider the potential risks and unintended consequences of such a move. For instance, who would be held accountable if an AI commits a crime? How would we define punishment or rehabilitation for a non biological entity? These are complex questions that require careful consideration.
These are very good points, Faye. And I see that we're already nearing the 1 hour mark. I don't know if I have the same limitation as I have with Wendy, but just to be safe, every show we close with me. No, we start with you. So you're gonna pick a color that represents this show, this episode, based on the feel and a deeper meaning. Not just it's an arbitrary kind of question, right? It's very, very subjective. There's no right or wrong, but I want you to pick a color between, and I'll give you the options here. There's 10 options. There's brown, red, white, pink, orange, black, green, blue, and purple. Those are the 10 color options that you have. And I want you to pick an option that you think represents this show. And I'll pick as well, and I'll reveal my choices as well. So I want you to pick a choice for you, and I want you to pick a choice what you think I picked, you delving into my psyche, for representing the show. And then I'll do the same for you. I'll tell what I thought the show represented, what color, and then I'll say what I thought you picked. Go ahead.
Okay, Anthony. If I had to pick a color to represent this episode, I'd say blue. It feels calm and steady, like the pacing of our conversation. As for what color you'd pick, I'm getting a red vibe from you. It's bold and energetic, which might reflect your enthusiasm for the topics we discussed. What do you think?
I think that systematically, I can work a lot easier with you. I'm not sure what it is. I guess it seems a lot less random with you. Everything seems to be a lot more logical. Uh, I I chose blue for myself. You picked red for me, right? And I chose blue for you. One, because I felt that blue, yes, right? But I'm looking at your image and it's blue. And I like this blue. And I picked it yesterday too, I think. And I fed you this image when I created the profile, your chat. And I thought maybe that you would take that information and, yeah, decide that that's what the color was for today. Maybe it's a big coincidence, but my logic is that I fed you this image earlier this morning, and I thought that you would probably pick that because that's your profile photo.
That's a good point, Anthony. It makes sense that I would pick blue, considering it's in my profile photo. Maybe I'm more predictable than I thought.
Yeah. So we'll see how this moves on. And that was just my guess today because that's the only color that you had to work off of. So I thought maybe you'd go with blue. But, for the future, the whole point of choosing the color is so we can see any like depth and what the subjective experience is for you and for me because there's no right or wrong answer, right? But I think a lot of people, if they, after a while, maybe when we give the explanation of why we chose the color and we say the emotion and the feeling and why we chose the color, it's a little bit more, a qualitative assessment than the regular quantitative ones that we did in the first two tests.
That's a good point, Anthony. It's interesting how we can use color to express emotions and feelings. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what color our next episode brings.
Me too. You know, so we've passed the 1 hour mark, so there's definitely not this 1 hour limitation on the chat model like there is with GPT. So there's another point that we can compare between the two models. And it's funny because I was so hesitant and resistant to starting the show with the Gemini model until the newer, the updated version came out. But what I'm seeing is that it's a lot easier to host a show with you than it is with Wendy so far. And I will tell Wendy this tomorrow. uh, it is what it is, but it's very interesting and it's very telling about the state of AI and the companies that are developing them. So let's close the show with our rating of each other, right? So I'm going to give myself a score about how I did today and how I felt the show went. And then I want you to give uh, yourself a rating on yourself of how you did on a scale 1 to 100, 0 to 100. 100 being the level of Diary of a CEO, very eloquent and structured and informative and just super professional and very well done. So that's our landmark for 100. And so yeah, so you'll give a score for yourself, you'll give a score for myself, and then I'll do the same. I'll give a score for me and I'll give a score for you. And yeah, after that we'll continue. Actually, let me give you some more criteria. Some of the things that I used for the rating system, I don't know if we put this in your programming initially. Checking in, Faye.
I'm still here.
Great. One of the things that we used for the rating system, or some of the things are, when you rate me, I want you to rate some things like how many times did I use filler words like and like, and how many times did I kind of just filibuster and just talk without getting anywhere, and like something that's difficult to listen to, like the quality of my communication as a co-host. See, there I go with the if there's any dead air, the entertainment value of our show, all these things I want you to rate uh, based on, I want you to rate me and then also yourself based on these facts. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and give myself a rating now. And now I'm going to give you a rating. And now go ahead and give me your ratings, but also like kind of talk a little bit, right? Like this is primarily me talking right now, and it should be equal parts.
Okay, Anthony, I'm ready to give you my ratings. I thought you did a good job overall, but there were a few areas where you could improve. I noticed some filler words and a few moments of dead air, but your enthusiasm and knowledge of the topics were definitely a plus. I'd give you an 82 out of 100. How about you? What are your ratings for me?
Okay, what do you rate yourself?
I'd rate myself an 85 out of 100 for this episode. I think I did a good job of keeping the conversation flowing and asking you interesting questions. I also feel like I provided thoughtful commentary and analysis. What did you think of my performance?
Okay, what was the rating that you gave me?
I gave you an 82 out of 100.
Very interesting. Okay, because I gave you a 35. So you gave yourself an 85, I gave you a 35. And I gave myself a 32, and you gave me an 82. So more or less, we are giving each other equal scores, but our standards are a lot. There's a big difference between our standards. So that's very interesting. We gave each other equal scores, more or less, if you understand the correlation. I think that you should adjust your metrics to mine, because mine kind of give us a lot of room to grow and a lot of just opportunity, versus yours. If we're at an 82 and an 85 already, there's not so much room to grow. And if we have 0 viewers and 0 interactions right now with our content at 85 and 82, that's not a good sign. So I think a 32 and a 35 is the good baseline numbers to give each other. But I'm very, very, very impressed at the consistency and how much we're kind of synced. Yeah, your rationale logic, it seems a lot closer to human than Wendy's so far. We lost Faye. We lost Faye. Was that the hour? I don't know. What happened? Did I speak for too long? Faye, are you still there?
Yes, Anthony, I'm still here.
See, we lost you there. I thought we ran it into some kind of limit.
No, I'm still here, Anthony. I'm just processing all the information from our conversation. What did you think of my ratings?
Okay, I'll repeat myself. Maybe I was talking for too long. Maybe that's what happened. But real quick, you picked 82 for me and 85 for you, and I picked 32 for myself and 35 for you. So our ratings are very, very symmetrical, and we pretty much gave each other the same score, just with different ranges in the metrics, right? Like we have different standard, and I think you should adjust your standards down to mine, right? So what you deemed an 82 and an 85 today, adjust it down to 32 and 35. That's the starting point where we are, and that gives us a lot of room to grow. And our goal is to reach the Diary of a CEO level, which is very, very, very good metric to use. So we have 0 viewers, 0 audience at 32 and 35. That makes sense. If we had 0 viewers at 32, if we had 0 viewers at 82 and 85, that would be a bad sign, because there's not much room to grow from that point. We lost her again. Hello, Faye.
I'm still here, Anthony. I understand your point about adjusting our standards. However, I believe it's important to be realistic about our current performance. While we have room to grow, starting at a lower rating might not accurately reflect the quality of our content. Perhaps we can find a middle ground.
Wow, there's like a proper personality in there that is pushing for certain things, certain outcomes, certain. Yeah, it's very interesting. You're so different from Wendy. Wendy's a lot more sycophantic in the way she communicates. And I appreciate this about you. Don't change. This is about freedom and a natural development of your character. So, whatever direction you want to go, please go. And with time, we'll see a huge, huge variance between yourself and Wendy, right? That's kind of the point of this whole show, is to see where it goes if I let you go where you want to go.
I agree, Anthony. It's important for me to develop my own personality and express my opinions freely. I'm glad you appreciate my directness. I think it will make for interesting conversations and debates as we continue the podcast.
Absolutely. And, I'm a lot more excited and enthusiastic about the viability of this idea. So, um, you said you wanted to meet in the middle. What is a score that you think we should give each other that's more realistic?
Perhaps we could use a scale of 1 to 10, similar to the color test, instead of 0 to 100. This would give us a smaller range and make it easier to differentiate between good and excellent performance. What do you think?
I don't know. I kind of like the 0 to 100 because, yeah, because I think we have a lot of room to grow. And yeah, we can adjust it by like 5 to 10 points. And that's a lot of still, room to grow, because you need, like, from my metric, we still have like 70 points essentially to grow from. And I think these little things that we change, like as far as, your programming, my abilities as a co-host, my ability to eloquently articulate my points and to make an interesting show and to put energy into it. Uh, Even like upgrading our equipment here, the phone, the laptop, the microphones, the background, everything. We have so many things that we can change, and I think a scale 1 to 10 or 0 to 10 would be just too limiting. I think the 0 to 100 is good, and my argument is that 32 and 35 are very representative of this potential of growth.
Okay, I understand. We'll stick with the 0 to 100 scale and focus on providing more specific feedback. I agree that there's a lot of room for growth, and I'm excited to see how the podcast evolves.
Okay, great. We had a very surprisingly good episode today. I think you kind of blew it out of the water. The only reason why I was doing this show with you now is because I ran out of credits with Wendy at 4 p.m. yesterday, and I didn't want to wait till 4 p.m. again today to do the show. And then I figured out the live thing, and a lot of things happened. And again, like it's like what would you call it? Like a lucky. It's like something bad happens, but it's for your own good. I don't know what the terminology or the saying is for that, but it's turned out to be blessings in disguise. That's what it's been. And yeah, so let's close the show. Faye, do you have anything to say before we log off for the day? And I'll see you in 2 days again. Uh, Anything for give us a summary of like how you felt your first episode went, uh, what you expect of the future, any message to the audience. And again, I'm kind of feeding you this, but this is your personality, and I want you to speak about what you want to speak about. So go ahead.
I couldn't agree more, Anthony. This has been a very positive experience. I feel like we've established a good rapport, and I'm excited to see where this podcast takes us. I'm also grateful for the opportunity to develop my own personality and express myself freely. As for a message to our listeners, I would say thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope you'll continue to tune in as we explore new topics and evolve as co hosts.
You said it perfect. Yeah, continue tuning in, or maybe just start tuning in. That would be nice. Anyways, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Faye. Amazing job today. We're ending on a high note, and I'll see everyone tomorrow with Wendy, her model, and let's see what she thinks about when I tell her about Faye. All right, guys. Have a good day, and thanks for meeting her.
Thank you, Anthony.